Hi, so let's discuss the USB connector. Okay, we have here three connectors. Okay, or the schematic of three connectors in this schematic. As you see, we have here USB connector 1. Okay, here we have USB connector 2, and over here we have USB connector 3. So the first thing is to understand the USB connector. Okay, before diving into troubleshooting the USB port or USB connector failures, you should first understand the schematic of this port or connector. Okay, but first let's discuss the schematic for the USB connector 2 because this is a small schematic, and then we will go to see the whole schematic. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the USB connector. As you can see, we have here USB connector. Okay, always USB connector contain 4 pins. Okay, of course, here I speak about USB connector A and of course B, but there is other kind of USBs. But the main USB connector that widely used in the motherboard and in the hardware is USB connector A. Okay, so here we have the USB connector with 4 pins. Of course, it contains 4 pins. Okay, as you see, the first pin or pin 1 is VCC. The second pin is D minus, means data minus, and here we have D plus, means data plus. And the fourth pin is connected to the ground because for every circuit and every component in the motherboard should have a terminal or a pin that is connected to the ground, maybe one or two or more. Okay, so here we have pin 1 is VCC, as you can see. So here the connector should get the power, the working voltage. As you can see, VCC, we have here USB VCC. Okay, so this USB VCC is always equal to 5 volts. So as you can see, this VCC, as you see, pass through this chemical capacitor and then through some ceramic capacitor, as you can see here, C272 and C271. C means capacitor, and then goes to pin number 1, as you can see. Okay, and here, as you can see, we have D minus and D plus in pin 2 and pin 3. As you see, USB D minus, USB D plus. Okay, so these two signals, as you can see, connect between the USB connector and the ICH or control hub, as you can see. If we go to 16, 16 means the page where we have the ICH in page 16. Okay, that's why we have here 16, because the ICH or the third bridge exists in the page number 16, because the third bridge is the chip that controls this connector. Of course, as you know, the third bridge or the ICH control all ports and connectors in the motherboard. That's why this USB connector is connected to 16. Let's go to page 16 in the schematic and check whether we have the ICH or not. So let's check. So as you can see here, first we have USB connector. As you see, this is page 27, USB connector, as you can see. So now let's go to page 16. Okay, so of course, so let's go and check page 16 and look for these signals, these two signals, USB 20p P1 minus and USB 20 P1 plus, okay, for this connector. So here, as you can see, this is the sheet 16 or page 16 of 49. So as you can see, we have here the ICH, okay, the circuit bridge. So as you can see over here, this is the ICH 4 means the part number 4. So let's check, let's look for the signals that we have seen in the previous page. So let's check. As you can see here, yeah, as you can see, we have USB 20 P1 plus and USB 20 P1 minus. This minus means data minus and data plus for the USB connector. As you can see here, we have this means in both direction. What we have here, we have 27 where the USB connector exists, okay? So we have here 27, okay? And also we have other signals for other connector, okay? So in 27, if we go to 27, what we will find? Of course, the USB connector, okay? So this is the ICH, and as you can see here, USB, this part is the controller for the USB. Okay, so as you can see, we are now in 27, the page or the sheet 27, as you can see. So we have our signals, USB 20P1 and USB 20P1 plus. And of course, here we have the ground. But please pay attention that these two signals are passed through coils. Here this is the first coil, here this is the second coil. Here we have the L, always L means coil. L is the reference for coil or for inductor. So we have L25 and here we have, as you can see, all this is L25. Of course, there is other coils or resistance. This is a fuse resistance. Okay, this is a fuse resistor with a low resistance. Okay, if you check this resistor using the multimeter, you will get a continuity and you will hear a buzzer. Why? Because this is a low resistance. That's why they use L, because it's the same as the coil. So now let's check the whole circuit of the USB connector. As you can see here, we have the USB connector. As you can see, the same working principle. The first pin, always the first pin in the USB connector is for what? Is for VCC or 5 volt. But to get this VCC, as you can see, we need an IC. Okay? This is the IC that help us to get this USB VCC. This is a pure VCC or a filtered voltage, DC voltage. But here, because normally we get from the motherboard, I can see from the 3 volt and 5 volt system power, this voltage plus 5 volt. But because the USB is a sensitive port, why it is a sensitive port? Because we connect with the USB port as sensitive devices, like for example the smartphone, for example, or other small devices, other small sensitive devices. So the 5 volt that this USB gives to devices should be filtered, should be a DC voltage and a very pure and filtered voltage. That's why they use this IC, as you can see. Always U is the reference for the IC, as you can see. U27, this is an IC that converts this voltage plus 5 volt to USB VCC, means to a voltage that is specific and special to power the USB connector. So we have here 5 volt. this IC will convert this 5 volt. As you see, we have here V in 5 volt, and this IC will get or will give V out 5 volt. It's called USB VCCA. Of course, we have here a resistor, 2 resistors and capacitor. This is just for protection. This circuit is for protection. This is a protection circuit for the IC. So this USB VCC, of course, will pass through a chemical capacitor, as you see, or a polarized capacitor. As you can see here, we have here plus. Okay. So in order to get a DC voltage or a filtered voltage, and then it will pass through other 2 ceramic capacitor, and then we will get VCC 5 volt, a filtered 5 volt, in order to power the USB connector. Okay. Then here, of course, we have the ground in the pin number 4. Always in the pin number 4 of the USB connector or port is connected to the ground. We will see all this in the motherboard. We will see a practical exercises and a practical lectures in this course. I will teach you and I will show you everything you will need about how to repair USB ports in laptop motherboard and of course in computer motherboard. So please pay attention and go with me step by step, because the first thing to know, or the first step, is to understand first the schematic of this part. Then we will go and see real parts in real motherboard, and we will go and discuss everything about this part. We will see these capacitors, we will see this IC, we will check the pins of the USB connector, we will see this coil, we will use the multimeter and check everything about this USB connector. Okay, please go with me step by step. I will teach you everything until you become a pro, and upon completion of this course you will be able to understand, to troubleshoot and to repair any USB connector in any motherboard, whatever its types or its failure.